Hello everyone. In this session, we'll be discussing about the features of New Economic Policy 1991, and under this, we will discuss some elements of New Economic Policy. So there are mainly three elements. First is liberalization, second is privatization, and third is globalization. So, starting with the first element, which is liberalization. Liberalization refers to the end of license, quota, and many more restrictions and controls which were put on industries before 1991. So, liberalization में क्या हुआ था? जितनी भी restrictions और जितने भी ban इंडस्ट्रीज पे लगाए गए थे 1991 से पहले, उन सब का एंड किया गया था. And Indian companies got liberalization in the following ways. First is abolition of license except in few, no restriction on expansion or contraction of business activity, reduction of tax rate and lifting of unnecessary control over the economy, liberalization in import and export, easy and simplifying the procedure to attract foreign capital in India, freedom in movement of goods and services, and freedom in fixing the price of goods and services. So these were some restrictions and control which were put under the industries before 1991, which after liberalization got access to all these. Next element is privatization. So in privatization, more role or greater role was given to the private sector as compared to public sector. प्रीवियस क्लास में हमने पढ़ा था कि जो इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी रेजोल्यूशन 1948 और 1956 में पास हुआ था, उसके अकॉर्डिंग पब्लिक सेक्टर को डोमिनेंट रोल मिला गया था, विच मीन्स मेनी एरियाज ऑफ बिजनेस वर रिजर्व फॉर पब्लिक सेक्टर, एंड इन स्पाइट ऑफ गिविंग प्रायोरिटी टू पब्लिक सेक्टर, this sector could not do much for the economic development of the country. That is why in 1991, the government of India adopted the policy of liberalization and globalization. So to execute the policy of privatization, government took the following step. First is disinvestment of public sector, that is transfer of public sector enterprise to प्राइवेट सेक्टर. पब्लिक सेक्टर में डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट की, विच मीन्स जितना इन्वेस्टमेंट पब्लिक सेक्टर में था उसको ट्रांसफर कर दिया प्राइवेट सेक्टर में. सेटिंग अप ऑफ बोर्ड ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल एंड फाइनेंशियल रिकंस्ट्रक्शन, विच इज BIFR, and this board was set up to revive or close sick units in public sector enterprise suffering the losses. एक बोर्ड सेटअप किया गया जो कि जिसने क्या किया, जितनी भी सिक यूनिट्स हैं यानी पब्लिक सेक्टर में जितना भी लॉस हुआ है उसको रिवाइव किया गया. थर्ड इज डाइल्यूशन ऑफ स्टेक ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट if in the process of disinvestment private sector acquires more than 51 shares, then it results in transfer of ownership and management to the प्राइवेट सेक्टर. अगर गवर्नमेंट डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट करती है पब्लिक सेक्टर में, विच मीन्स गवर्नमेंट प्राइवेट सेक्टर में इन्वेस्ट कर रही है, लेकिन उस प्राइवेट सेक्टर में जो कंपनी है, कंपनी का शेयर 51% अगर हो गया है, तो उस सेक्टर की जो पूरी मैनेजमेंट और जो कंट्रोल है वो ट्रांसफर होती है प्राइवेट सेक्टर में. Now the last element is globalization. So globalization basically refers to the integration of various economies of the world. 1991 तक Indian government was following the strict policy in regard to import and foreign investment, such as licensing of imports, tariff restrictions, etc. But after new policy, government adopted the policy of globalization by taking the following measures. So first is import liberalization, which means government removed many restrictions from import of capital goods. Second is Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, which is known as FERA, and it was replaced by Foreign Exchange Management Act. Now it is known as FEMA. Third is rationalization of tariff structure, abolition of export duty, reduction of import duty, etc. So globalization basically involves the greater interaction and interdependency among the various nations of global economy. Globalization क्या है? अलग अलग nations के बीच में या different countries के बीच में जो एक greater interaction और interdependency है, that is globalization. Next is impact of changes in economic policy on the business or effect of liberalization and globalization. So there were many factors and forces of business environment which have a lot of influence over the business. These are: first factor is increasing competition. So after the new policy, Indian companies had to face all around competition, which means competition from internal market and competition from MNCs. इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसी आने के बाद इंडियन मार्केट को बहुत सारा कंपटीशन फेस करना पड़ा, क्योंकि ग्लोबलाइजेशन हुआ, दूसरी कंट्रीज से इंटरडिपेंडेंसी हुई, इंटरैक्शन हुआ, तो यहाँ पे कंपटीशन इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे आ गया था. So the company which could adopt latest technology and which have a large number of resources, they could only survive and face the competition. There were many companies who could not face the competition and they had to leave the market. For example, 1991 से पहले banking sector and insurance, telecommunication, etc. These were the only public sector who was enjoying the monopoly. Whereas now so many private banks, airlines, and telecommunication companies have entered in the race of competition. So here the competition has increased. Second is more demanding customers. Prior to the new economic policy, there were very few industries or production units. As a result, there was shortage of product in every sector. Because of this shortage, the market was producers oriented. But after the new economic policy, where many more businessmen joined the production line and various foreign companies also established their production units in India, as a result, there was a surplus of products in every sector. So 1991 से पहले बहुत कम प्रोडक्शन यूनिट्स हुआ करती थी, क्योंकि कम इंडस्ट्रीज थी, तो वहाँ पे शॉर्टेज हुआ करती थी प्रोडक्ट की. सो 1991 से पहले it was producers oriented, market was producers oriented. But after new economic policy, as बहुत सारे बिजनेसमैन ने ज्वाइन किया, बहुत सारे इंटरनेशनल कंपनीज ने अपनी प्रोडक्शन यूनिट इंडिया में इस्टेब्लिश की, इससे क्या हुआ? देयर वाज सरप्लस ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स इन every sector. So this shift from shortage to surplus brought another shift in the market. That is, the market changed from producer market to buyer market. Next is rapidly changing technological environment. So before economic policy, there was a small internal competition only, but after the new economic policy, the world-class competition started, and to stand this global competition, the companies need to adopt the world-class technology. And to adopt and implement these world-class technology, investment in research and development department has to increase. Fourth is necessity for change. So before 1991, business enterprise could follow stable policy for a long period of time. But after 1991, the business enterprise have to modify their policies and operations from time to time. 1991 से पहले business enterprise सिर्फ एक ही policy को follow कर रही थी, लेकिन 1991 के बाद जब liberalization, globalization आया, उसके बाद enterprise को अपनी policies में modification करने पड़े. Next is need for developing human resources. So before 1991, Indian enterprise were managed by adequately trained personnels, but in new market conditions, it requires people with higher competence, skills and training. Therefore, the Indian companies felt the need to develop their human skills. And the last is market orientation. Earlier, firms were following selling concept, that is produce first and then go to the market. But now companies followed marketing concept, that is planning production on the basis of market research, need and want of customer, because the customer plays an important role in today's market. Now here are some questions based on the topic discussed above. First question is, free flow of goods and services between different countries of the world is an example of globalization, privatization, liberalization and demonetization. Second is, liberalization is free flow of goods and services, increased participation of private sector, reduction in formalities, taxes and tariff, and unity among political parties. Third question is, Which of the following does not explain the impact of government policy changes on business and industry? First is more demanding customers. Second, change in agriculture prices. Third, increase in competition. Fourth, market orientation. And the last question is zero defeat, zero effect. ZED is a slogan coined by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, with reference to the Make in India initiative launched by the government. The slogan reflects the efficiency of production process, that is, the products have no defects and the process through which the product is made has zero adverse environment and ecological effect. The ZED models aims to make the India the manufacturing hub of the world and prevent the products developed in India from being rejected by the global market. Moreover, before the initiative was launched, the limits of foreign direct investment in various sectors has been relaxed. The application for license was made available online and the validity of license was increased to 3 years. Various other norms and procedures were also relaxed by the government. So, here you have to identify and explain the major components of new economic policy of 1991. So, we have discussed the new economic policy 1991, its features, its main components, and its impact on business environment. In the next session, we'll discuss the last topic of this chapter. That's all for today. Thank you.